Revealed. How one heartwarming ultimatum from my daughter sparked a life-changing transformation. The smell of homemade meatloaf wafted through the small kitchen, but the warmth of the meal couldn't cut through the cold tension lingering in the air. Jack, a ruggedly handsome 45-year-old with deep creases etched in his forehead, stood by the stove, stirring a pot absent-mindedly. His heart weighed heavy as he glanced around at the pictures on the walls, snapshots of happier days with his late wife and their once joyful daughter Lily. Now all that remained was an empty silence, punctuated only by the ticking of the clock. Lily, his 16-year-old daughter, sat at the kitchen table, flicking through her phone, her fingers flying over the screen but her heart elsewhere, aching for connection. Jack turned, catching a glimpse of Lily's downcast eyes, a stark reminder of how much they had both lost since her mother's passing. He could feel the distance growing between them, a chasm carved deeper by his relentless commitment to the family-owned hardware store that had been their lifeline in the town. But was it worth the sacrifice? Might as well just get takeout, Dad, Lily muttered, her voice barely above a whisper, breaking the silence like glass shattering on a hard floor. Jack's heart sank. He wanted to deny her choice, make it all right again. But the weight of overdue bills and looming competition from big-box stores overshadowed his resolve. No, sweetheart, let us enjoy a home-cooked meal, Jack replied, forcing a smile that didn't quite reach his eyes. Behind that smile was the guilt of countless nights spent at the store, trading family dinners for late-night inventory counts. Then, with a sudden burst of courage, Lily slammed her phone down. "You can't keep doing this, Dad," she exclaimed, her voice rising, trembling with emotion. Jack's chest tightened. "It's either the store or me. I need you here, not just physically but mentally too. I'm tired of feeling like I'm competing with wood and nails for your attention." Jack sat in stunned silence, the weight of her words hitting him like a freight train. How had he let things come to this? Before he could respond, tears brimmed in Lily's eyes, sparking a flame in Jack's heart. "I miss us, I miss Mom. And I miss you really being here with me. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue." Jack felt a swirl of emotions crashing into him. His heart ached for his daughter, the dolor of loneliness and neglect sinking in deep. He was drowning in demands from the community, in the struggle to keep the store afloat. But what was winning the battle if he didn't have the most important person in his life beside him? The store felt more like a burden than a blessing, yet the thought of closing it made him feel weak. He wanted to shield Lily from the world's harsh realities, but at what cost? Their eyes locked in that moment, and Jack felt the flicker of hope amidst the despair. A chance to change everything. Would he choose the store that symbolized his life's work, or the daughter who held his heart? The question loomed large between them, charged with powerful emotion, their destinies hanging by a fragile thread. Jack took a deep breath, the weight of Lily's words sinking into his soul. Time seemed to blur, the kitchen fading around him, leaving only the sound of their collective breaths. He could see the vulnerability in Lily's eyes, a reflection of his own despair. For so long he had poured every ounce of effort into the store, thinking he was building a future for her. But now it felt like he had only built walls between them. "Lily," he finally said, his voice cracking, "I didn't realize how far I'd pushed us apart. I've been so focused on keeping the business alive that I forgot what really matters." Those words hung in the air, a fragile truce forming amidst the chaos of their lives. Lily wiped her tears with the back of her hand, her expression shifting from anger to cautious hope. "Do you mean it? Because sometimes it feels like the store means more to you than I do." Jack shook his head, the lump in his throat making it difficult to swallow. "No, it's not that. You're my priority, Lily. I know I failed to show you, but I want to change that if you'd let me." Her cautious smile pulled at his heartstrings, a glimmer of light piercing through the gloom. "What do you mean? How can we fix this?" "I don't know yet," he admitted, running a hand through his hair. "But I think it's time to rethink how much of my life I dedicate to the store. I don't want to miss any more moments with you." The silence stretched between them, thick with unspoken emotions, yet somehow lighter than before. Jack realized he needed to take action. He rose from the chair, guided by a newfound sense of determination. "Let us make this dinner together," he suggested, trying to inject a hint of warmth into his tone. "Are you serious?" Lily asked, her eyes brightening with surprise. "Absolutely. Team effort. Let us turn this moment into a fun memory," Jack replied, cracking a real smile this time. Lily blinked, disbelief painted across her face. "Okay, but you have to do the chopping. I don't trust you with the knife." He chuckled, the sound a balm against their earlier tension. "Fair enough. Just don't get too comfortable. I'm going to need help seasoning this meatloaf too." As they moved around the kitchen side by side, the air filled with laughter and light banter, Jack realized the past few months had been a blur of exhaustion and neglect. Seeing Lily's smile reignited a spark he thought was long gone. With every shared task, every playful jab exchanged, he felt resentment and sorrow start to dissolve. "I'm glad you want to be here," Lily said, her voice softer now, genuine. "I really missed you." "I missed you too," Jack admitted. Felt like a declaration. He'd been so focused on survival that he hadn't recognized living was about togetherness. "No more missed dinners, okay? We're going to create our own moments from now on." Lily nodded, the corners of her mouth lifting. For the first time in a long while, their connection felt restored, like a bridge slowly being rebuilt. But even as they worked side by side, a lingering doubt gnawed at Jack. Could he really balance running the store with being the dad Lily deserved? Could he truly make up for the lost time? As they placed the meatloaf in the oven, hoping it would be as delicious as the memories they were recreating, Jack made a silent promise to himself. He had to find a way to blend his work with fatherhood. Just then the phone rang, jolting him back to reality. He hesitated before answering, knowing it might be about the store. The moment felt pivotal. Would he let another call dictate his time with Lily? Or would he focus on what really mattered? "I'll get it," he said, but was met with Lily's insistence. "No, Dad, let it ring. We've got more important things to do." Heart pounding, Jack looked at his daughter. Would this act of defiance be the catalyst for a full transformation in their relationship? With uncertainty thickening the air, he made a choice. He turned off his phone, letting it vibrate to silence. Looking at Lily, he realized this was the first step. The real challenge was yet to come. What would happen when the truth about the store's looming crisis finally caught up with him? Jack stood there, pulse racing as the phone slipped into silence. The kitchen was filled with the warm scent of meatloaf, but a chill ran through him. He turned to Lily, who was busy arranging the side dishes. The soft glow of the oven light illuminated her features, and for a moment, he marveled at how easily they had slipped back into their rhythm. Yet, the weight of his decision loomed. "Dad?" Lily's voice pulled him back. "Are you okay?" Her concern melted his tension. "Yeah, I want to get this right." He paused, searching for the right words. "Can we really do this? Can I be present like you deserve?" Lily set down a dish and turned to face him. "Starts with small things, right? Like this dinner. If we can share moments like this, we can work on the bigger stuff." He nodded, encouraged by her optimism. "You're right. It's about making choices. I used to think I was doing all this to give you a good life. But I now see the cost. Sometimes being together is enough," she said, her eyes shining with sincerity. "You can teach me how to run the store without being at the store all the time." Jack chuckled, though the laugh felt slightly strained. "I hope I don't make it too complicated." She giggled, a sound that rang with pure joy. "Just like you make dinner complicated, right?" The laughter came easy, but the shadow of their past loomed. It was a bittersweet reminder that the journey ahead wouldn't be an easy one. As they set the table, Jack's mind wandered to the days when he skimped on family time for late nights at the store. They had moved from simple dinners to missed celebrations, and now the emptiness echoed in the corners of their home. After they served their meal, Jack lifted his fork to dig in, but his gaze drifted to Lily's face. The way she savored each bite reminded him of those afternoons they spent at the park, the carefree moments that now felt like distant memories. "I realize we've been running a race, but what if we walked together instead?" Lily looked up, her expression thoughtful. "I like that. Walking together sounds good. It means we can discover new things without being in a hurry." As they ate, The clatter of forks on porcelain mixed with the warmth in their hearts. For the first time, the kitchen felt like a home instead of just a space. Jack started to feel like he could breathe again, a soft smile spreading across his face. But just as they began to wrap up their meal, the doorbell rang. It echoed through the house, sharp and sudden. Jack exchanged a glance with Lily, a mix of surprise and apprehension. Who could be at the door at this hour? "I'll get it," he said, rising from the table, though a nagging concern twisted in his gut. What if it was someone from the store? What if the crisis waiting for him outside was bigger than he thought? He reached for the door, uncertainty turning into dread. What awaited him on the other side? With a deep breath, Jack pulled it open, ready to face whatever came next. Jack hesitated for a split second before swinging the door wide. There, standing in the chilly evening air, was a familiar figure, but one he hadn't seen in years. It was his brother Mike, looking worn but somehow hopeful. "Jack," Mike said, his voice steady but laced with an undercurrent of longing. "Can we talk?" Jack's heart lurched at the sight of him. So much history loomed between them, painted in shades of unresolved conflict and past mistakes. Yeah, sure. Come in." He stepped back, letting Mike step over the threshold. Lily, sensing the shift in atmosphere, slipped away to the living room, leaving the two men alone in the kitchen. Jack felt trapped between the scent of home-cooked comfort and the emotional storm brewing in his chest. "I didn't know if you'd want to see me," Mike continued, his eyes scanning the room, landing momentarily on the half-eaten meatloaf. "It's been a while." "Yeah, it has," Jack replied, avoiding his brother's gaze. He felt the weight of years wrapped around their silence, pressing down on him. "What brings you here?" Mike shifted, pulling at his collar. "I need your help. I messed up again. And I don't know what else to do." A chill of worry mixed with frustration coursed through Jack. He had spent years trying to distance himself from Mike's chaotic lifestyle, a life full of poor choices and broken promises. "Is it about the bar?" he asked, trying to keep his voice level. "Partly," Mike admitted. "But it's bigger than that. I thought I could handle it on my own, but I need family. I need you." Those simple words hung heavy in the air. Jack's instinct was to shut down, to revert to the familiar patterns of doubt and resentment. But looking back at the dining table, seeing the empty plates and the warmth his daughter had helped create, he remembered their conversation about taking small steps. "Look, Mike," Jack said, his voice softening. "This isn't easy. You know that. I know. I've pushed you away and I'm sorry. But this time I really want to fix things." Mike's eyes held a sincerity Jack hadn't seen in years. "I'm trying to change for real. Can you believe that?" It felt like a gamble, one Jack wasn't sure he was ready to take. "What does that look like for you?" "I'm trying to get myself into rehab," Mike confessed, the words tumbling out like stones. "But I can't do it alone. I need you to hold me accountable." "I'm scared, Jack." Silence fell between them, a fabric woven from years of hurt, misunderstanding, and a flicker of hope. Jack felt his heart quicken. It was a moment of vulnerability, and it reminded him of how he felt with Lily just moments ago. Maybe I can help. But it's going to take time. I can't just trust you blindly. I'll earn it. I promise," Mike vowed, a glimmer of desperation and determination mixing in his voice. Jack nodded slowly, feeling a cautious relief wash over him. "All right, let us start with dinner. It's not a miracle, but it's something." Just then Lily peeked back into the room. She saw the two men standing there, faces a canvas of mixed emotions. "Is everything okay?" Her voice, small but firm, broke the tension. Jack looked between his brother and his daughter. They were both standing at a crossroads, both yearning to mend what had been broken. "We're working on it," he said, liking the sound of those words. Maybe, just maybe, but before he could finish, the phone rang again, slicing through the fragile moment like a knife. Jack exchanged uneasy glances with Mike and Lily. "What now?" As he reached for the ringing device, he couldn't shake the feeling that the answers he needed were just beyond that call. Would it lead to deeper revelations? Or would it unravel everything he just began to stitch together? Jack glanced at the phone, its shrill tone ringing through the silence like an alarm bell. He hesitated, fingers hovering over the screen, but the weight of the moment drew him back. The uncertainty loomed larger than the call. He could sense Lily watching him closely. "Do you think you should get that?" Mike asked, his voice a mix of curiosity and anxiety. Could be important. Jack nodded absently, still torn between the call and the heavy conversation at hand. Yeah, it might be, he answered, his heart racing as if anticipating bad news. Jack? The voice on the other end was shaky, but it didn't belong to the usual contacts. This is Laura from the community center. Immediately a flood of memories surged. Laura had been a lifeline for so many in the neighborhood, organizing support groups and community drives. But now her voice was tainted with urgency. I think you need to come down here. There's been an incident, she continued, her words rushing out. It's regarding your father. Jack felt the ground beneath him shake, his thoughts spiraling into disbelief. What happened? Is he all right? It's not good, Jack. He's been found unconscious. The paramedics are on the way. A cold sweat broke out on Jack's forehead. The strained relationship with their father had been a pall over their family. They had distanced themselves, years of silence built up like a fortress, but he never wanted this. I'm coming, he said. Urgency overshadowing his fears, he hung up, the phone slipping from his grasp as reality sank in. Panic coursed through his veins, tangled with a mix of confusion and anger. Mike's gaze shifted from concern to realization as he too felt the tremors of emotion rising in the room. What's going on? Mike asked, his face paling. Dad's been found unconscious. I need to go to the community center. Before Jack could second-guess himself, Lily reached out and took his hand, her grip steady and reassuring. We're going with you, right? Right, Uncle Mike? It was a simple statement, but it ignited a spark inside Jack. For the first time in a long time he felt a communal strength surging between them, a bond that had been so fragile now suddenly braced by this unexpected crisis. Yeah, Mike agreed, his voice steadied with purpose. I'll drive. As they hurried out the door, Jack's heart was a whirlwind of emotions: fear, hope, and an inkling of redemption. Moments swirled through his mind. Missed opportunities, harsh words exchanged, laughter that echoed back into their childhood. They piled into Mike's car, its engine rumbling to life and pulling them toward the chaos ahead. In those tense moments, Jack's heart raced. What would he find at the community center? Would this be a call to action for reconciliation or another chapter of regret? Do you think he's going to be okay? Lily asked quietly, breaking the suffocating silence that filled the car. Jack glanced at her, the innocence in her eyes tugging at him. All his fears and resentments collided. I don't know, sweetie, but we're going to figure it out. The road whipped by, but Jack felt as if time itself slowed. He was unsure of what awaited, but the enormity of love and pain washed through him. Would he be ready to confront everything that came with his father? As they approached the community center's flashing lights, Jack's breaths quickened. Could this be the moment that changed everything for their family? Would it at last be the catalyst to bring deeply buried wounds to the surface? And as the thoughts raced, just before they stepped onto the sidewalk, Jack's phone buzzed again, a new message illuminating the darkness creeping in on all sides. Who was reaching out now? He opened it tentatively, the sense of impending change thickening in the air. What more could unfold? Jack's hands trembled as he stared at the message flickering on his screen. It was from a number he didn't recognize, but the words leapt out at him. We need to talk. I have important news about your dad. His heart sank. The world around him faded as his mind raced. What could possibly be more urgent than what just happened? He thought. But time wasn't on his side. The community center loomed closer, and with every passing moment, dread coiled tightly around his chest. Jack? You okay? Mike's voice pulled him back, and he looked up to see a concerned expression on his friend's face. Yeah, it's just a text. Another person wanting to talk about Dad, Jack replied, forcing a tight-lipped smile. Lily shifted in her seat. Is everything going to be all right? Why do we have to talk to so many people? Her eyes were wide, filled with innocence and worry. Jack swallowed hard, wishing he had the answers. I don't know, sweetheart, but we'll find out soon. Just stay close. When they parked, the flashing lights of ambulances flickered like thunderbolts against the evening sky. The community center, now a battleground of emotion, loomed ahead. Jack stepped out of the car, his legs feeling heavy as if the weight of every decision he had ever delayed now pressed on him. Stick together, Mike said, his tone serious yet reassuring as they walked toward the entrance, Jack felt the cold air wrap around him, sharp and biting. Inside, chaos reigned. People milled about, their voices a muddled mix of worry and strain, but Jack's focus narrowed on the commotion near the first aid station. He spotted Laura, her face drawn but determined. When she saw him, her expression shifted to one of relief. "Jack, thank goodness you're here," she breathed, rushing over. "Your father was brought in, and they're treating him now." "What happened?" Jack demanded, urgency bubbling up inside him. "Heart attack, but they're stabilizing him. The paramedics did everything they could," she explained, her voice taut. You should prepare yourself. There's a lot we'll need to discuss." "I just want to see him," Jack said, the desperation leaking into his voice. It was a plea wrapped in years of unspoken emotions. "Right this way," Laura replied, leading him through a throng of anxious faces. Lily and Mike followed closely, their presence a steady force beside him as they reached the makeshift treatment area. Jack's heartbeat echoed in his ears. He caught sight of his father, frail and pale, lying on a stretcher surrounded by medical staff. A tangle of wires connected to machines blinked and whirred, their rhythm alarming. "Dad," Jack whispered, disbelief wrapping around his heart like a vice. Memories meandered through his mind, fishing trips, missed birthdays, arguments over trivial things. All the chances he had let slip. "I'm so sorry." He didn't even realize he had stepped closer until Mike's hand was on his shoulder, grounding him in the present. "We'll figure this out," Mike assured him, though Jack could hear the unspoken anxiety lacing his words. Lily tugged at his shirt. "Is he going to be okay, Uncle Jack?" Jack turned to her, a lump swelling in his throat. "I don't know, but we're here now," he said, voice steady, though inside he felt like crumbling. Laura dipped in closer, her eyes softening. "Jack, there's something else you should know. Your father mentioned something important before he lost consciousness. You may need to hear it." Every fiber in Jack's being braced for whatever truth awaited him. Would it change everything he thought he knew? As the machines beeped alongside his father's frailty, did he dare to hope for a new beginning? The air thickened with tension and uncertainty, and as their eyes met, Jack felt the weight of the moment threatening to topple him. Could this revelation be the turning point he had been too afraid to confront all these years? Jack's breath caught, fear mingling with that tiny spark of hope. What awaited him in the depths of his father's mind? What life-altering truth was about to unfold? Jack's chest tightened at Laura's words. He swallowed hard, trying to steady himself. "What did he say?" "Let us just step outside for a moment, okay?" Laura suggested. The chaos inside seemed to swell, and he nodded more out of instinct than willingness. As they stepped into the dimly lit hallway, the noise faded just enough for Jack to catch his breath. But even the silence was heavy, filling with unasked questions. "Your dad. He talked about you and Lily," Laura began, her voice soft yet firm. "He said he wants you to know something important. About your family." Jack shook his head, trying to process. All those years of distance and misunderstandings suddenly bore down on him. "What do you mean?" What could he possibly want to say now? "Jack, he mentioned regret. He regrets not being there enough for you. Not being the father you deserved," Laura explained. There was a glint of compassion in her eyes, but it only amplified his frustration. "I'm not sure what good that does now," he snapped, the heat of anger rising. It was easier to be mad than to face what lay beneath. Regret? That was the least of his concerns. He should have thought about that before what? She interrupted. Before he had a heart attack? Before you two drifted apart? "Look, Jack, this is an opportunity. You both have a chance to heal things even now." Jack felt a mixture of disbelief and longing. But that was just the problem, wasn't it? He realized how much he wished for that second chance. How much it hurt that the chance might be slipping away. His doctor said they're hopeful, but it's important to prepare. "They might need to talk to you soon about the next steps," she offered gently. The words hung in the air like unspent gunpowder. Deep down, Jack yearned to believe that everything could change. Yet dread clawed at him, twisting the hope into something heavier. Standing in that hallway, he could feel the walls closing and the past rushing in, demanding to be faced. "I guess I just wish things could have been different," he admitted, voice trembling as he leaned against the wall. "Why can't we go back and fix it?" Laura placed a hand on his arm. "You can't change the past. But you can shape the future. Your relationship with him, Lily's relationship with her grandfather. Lily deserves more than this chaos, Jack sighed, glancing back toward the treatment area. She seemed so small, her worries so profound in a world teetering on the edge of fear. She isn't alone in this, said Laura softly. You're here. You're all she needs, Jack. Just be present. That part of the transformation. There it was, a flicker of clarity. He couldn't erase the years lost, the pain from the past. But he could confront it head-on, step into the truth his father had carried. Taking a deep breath, he pushed himself off the wall. Okay, let us do it. Let us talk, he said, determination igniting in his heart. He didn't know what awaited him. As they turned back toward the chaos, the emergency lights danced a haunting rhythm. Jack felt the weight shift, and for the first time it began to feel less like a burden. Maybe this was the moment he'd been waiting for all along. But before they could reach the treatment area, the doctor stepped out, his expression grave. Jack, we need to talk about your father's condition. The surgery is not the end of this, and there's something more you need to be aware of. Jack's heart raced as he caught Laura's worried glance. What other truths were lurking beneath the surface? The weight of uncertainty loomed like a shadow, begging the question, how could one night change everything? Jack's stomach twisted as he stared at the doctor, words hanging like heavy clouds. What do you mean? He asked, his voice trembling slightly. The doctor took a breath, steadying himself. Your father's heart is weak. The surgery will hopefully help, but he may not be able to handle the recovery as we would like. We need to prepare for the possibility that he may not make it through. A chill swept through Jack. It was one thing to hear about a heart attack, another to confront the reality that his father might not come back from this. He felt the world narrow around him, the gray walls of the hospital closing in, escalating a thudding drumbeat in his chest. Laura's soft tone cut through the muffled noise of the hospital, struggles and whispers swirling around them. You need to talk to him. Now. Jack's heart sank further as he looked toward the treatment area again. After all these years, what if he doesn't even want to see me? Don't let your fear decide for you. What's the worst that can happen, really? You might just find the list of regrets isn't as long as you think, Laura urged, her voice gaining strength. Gritting his teeth, Jack turned toward the door. He could feel the icy fingers of his past gripping him tight, but each step he took brought a flicker of warmth. Soon they reached the treatment room, and he found himself hesitating just outside the door. Jack, Laura said, squeezing his arm. You are not alone in this. You have a little girl back there who needs you. This is about more than your dad. The mention of Lily hit him squarely in the chest. He straightened, wiping away the mounting tears. There was no time for anger now. There was only time to forge ahead. He pushed the door open, seeing his father in that bed, frail and connected to countless machines, hit him like a punch. The man who used to tower over him, with a booming laugh and a warm smile, now looked vulnerable and worn. Jack had never seen him this way before, and anxiety curled in his gut like smoke. Dad? Jack's voice was barely above a whisper. His father's eyes fluttered open, and recognition sparked amid the pain. Jack, you came, he managed to croak out, a flicker of surprise flashing across his face. Jack swallowed hard, desperate to keep his composure. I'm here. I want to talk. About what? His father's forehead creased, as if unsure what they could possibly have to say to each other. About everything, Jack stammered, eyes darting around the sterile room filled with beeping machines and sterile air. There was so much to cover, and yet the words tangled in his throat. About us. About Lily. Lily, the brightness in his father's eyes dimmed. I'm sorry for missing all those years. You're not the only one to blame, Jack interjected, emotions stirring. I shut you out. I piled up resentment and I kept it there, thinking it'd protect me. But it didn't. Silence filled the room, heavy yet necessary. Jack took a deep breath, letting the weight of his words settle like lead. But before his father could reply, the door swung open again, and a nurse walked in, clipboard in hand, disrupting the fragile moment. Sorry to interrupt, but we need to monitor Mr. Rogers closely. Family visiting hours are limited. Jack turned back to his father, urgency coursing through him. We'll talk more, okay? I'm not going anywhere. As the nurse moved to adjust the door, Jack felt something shift in the air, a crack in the wall they had built between them. Hope timidly nudged its way in. But uncertainty clawed back at him as he stepped out of the room. What more was there to uncover? How could one fragile moment lead to lasting change? The questions spiraled in his head. He felt transformed yet restless, each step echoing with possibilities. The truth might be loaded, but one thing was undeniable. They were still here, still holding on. Jack, Laura's voice cut through again. Are you ready for some answers? His heart raced. What other revelations awaited? Jack leaned against the wall, his heart a mix of hope and anxiety. Laura's question hung in the air, filling the space with an urgent weight. Ready for some answers? It felt like a challenge, a door slightly ajar that beckoned him closer. What do you mean? He asked, though he could guess. There were layers beneath their fractured relationship, unspoken truths that craved light. Laura moved closer, her voice dropping to a whisper. I heard bits and pieces from Lily. She's been thinking a lot about family, about her grandpa. Maybe it's time to let go of the past, Jack. Letting go. The phrase twisted in his mind. How many times had he promised himself that? Yet every time he thought he'd moved forward, the memories would creep back in, gnawing at his resolve. But this was Lily. She deserved more than a haunted father. He inhaled deeply. What did she say? Laura took a breath, gathering her thoughts. She wishes she could know her grandpa. She asked why you don't talk about him. It bothered her, and honestly it broke my heart a little. As these words sunk in, Jack felt a swell of emotion. Lily's innocence pressed against him like a gentle reminder of what was truly important. He nodded, glancing back toward his father's room. I didn't want to burden her with my feelings of anger and hurt. But hiding your pain might hurt her even more, Laura replied softly. Kids can sense when something's wrong. They just don't know how to name it. You can't let fear stand in the way anymore. Fear. It was like a wall he had built brick by brick over the years, fortress-like, shielding him from the possibility of disappointment. Yet standing outside that hospital room, realizing that Lily might be his key to reconciliation, lifted a shadow from his heart. Jack stepped away from the wall, his resolve strengthening. You're right. I have to set things right, not just for myself but for Lily too. She deserves to know her grandpa and for me to be able to face him without this weight. Laura smiled, pride shining in her eyes. You've got this. But be prepared, it won't be easy. You're not just confronting your father. You're confronting the past, the hurt, and yourself too. The thought filled him with a mix of dread and excitement. Jack pushed himself away from the idea of retreat. I don't want to waste another moment. I want to be there for her. For him. With a swift nod, they walked back toward the room. He felt the pulse of hope thumping in his chest again, perhaps louder and steadier than before. It was tempting to think that a single conversation could mend years of silence and hurt, but what if this was the moment that began that journey? He reached for the doorknob, turning it slowly as if trying to gauge his own fear. But then, just as he stepped into the room, an alarm blared, slicing through the air like a knife. The machine started beeping erratically, triggering a whirl of panic as nurses rushed in. Jack's heart dropped. Was this it? Stay back, one nurse said, pushing him aside as they worked to stabilize his father. Jack stood there, helpless, his breath caught in his throat. Dad! He shouted, desperation pouring from his heart. He didn't know if he was too late to ask for forgiveness, or to tell him the things Lily needed to hear. Just then he felt Laura's hand on his arm, grounding him in chaos. Stay strong, she urged. Whatever happens, you're not alone. As he gazed at his father's frail form being surrounded by frantic hands, Jack couldn't shake the feeling that their family's fate hung in the balance, and so did the chance for redemption. What would happen if he lost this moment? Would he let fear take over again? He couldn't think about that now. All he could do was hold on to the flicker of hope and the promise of change. And then another voice cut through the tension. A voice he hadn't expected to hear. Jack. It was Lily's sweet voice echoing down the hall. He turned, hope blooming anew. What could she bring at this moment of uncertainty? Daddy. I want to see Grandpa. The nurse paused and glanced back at Jack, uncertainty reflecting in her eyes. This was it. Would Jack bring his daughter into this world of emergency and fear? Would she be the one to pierce through the darkness enveloping their family? Just before he could respond, his heart raced. What answers lay ahead? Would the moment shatter or strengthen their bond? The moment hung heavily in the air, a fragile thread connecting the chaos around them. Jack felt his heart thunder in his chest, a mix of dread and determination surging within him. Lily's voice echoed again, cutting through the noise of uncertainty. "Daddy, I want to see Grandpa." For a heartbeat, panic clawed at him. Did he want to expose Lily to this whirlwind of fear? But as he turned toward her, he saw the unwavering hope in her eyes, the yearning for connection, a chance for her to know the man she had only heard stories about. Jack knelt down, meeting her gaze, his voice soft yet firm. "Lily, it might be scary in there. Are you sure you want to see him?" "Yes," she exclaimed, the sincerity of her response igniting a spark in him. Jack shared a quick look with Laura, who nodded encouragement. "She deserves to have this moment too," her expression said without words. Taking a breath, Jack stood up, the weight of his decision pressing upon him but somehow lightening at the same time. "All right," he said, gripping her hand tightly. "Let us go see him together." As they stepped into the treatment area, the frantic pace of the nurses only reinforced the gravity of the situation. Jack's heart raced. Every instinct told him to shield Lily from the uncertainty, but the gentle squeeze of her hand reminded him why they were here. For each other. For healing. A nurse stood at the door, her brow furrowed in concern. "We're still working on him, but family is important," she said, softening at the sight of Lily. "Just be careful, all right?" Jack nodded and led Lily to her grandfather's bedside. The sight of his father, frail and tethered to machinery, sent a pang ripping through him. Did he leave enough time for them to mend their relationship? It felt like time was slipping through his fingers, and now seeing his father in this state illuminated all the moments lost. Grandpa. Lily's voice was a soft whisper. She stepped closer, her small frame almost dwarfed by the machines surrounding her grandfather. Jack watched as his father's eyes fluttered open, confusion deepening the lines on his face. "Lily?" His father's voice was barely a rasp, but it was filled with recognition. The weariness in his gaze shifted as he focused on her, the pastel colors of innocence against the stark white sheets of the hospital room. "Hi, Grandpa. I'm here," Lily said, beaming with the purity of youth and love. "I've missed you." Jack felt a lump forming in his throat. This was the moment. An unspoken bond, layered with history and pain, began to unravel. His father blinked slowly, tears gathering in the corners of his eyes. "I've missed you too." Pumpkin. The exchange hit Jack like a freight train. Regret pulsed in rhythm with hope, intertwining as he recognized the opportunity for healing. "Dad," he said, his voice breaking through the tender connection between them. "We need to talk. There is so much to say." His father nodded, understanding the weight behind those words. The moment hung suspended, filled with a deep yearning to alter their fate. "I know I can't change what has happened." "No, but we can create a new path," Jack replied firmly, his chest swelling with determination. "We can do that together." For Lily. Their eyes locked, and in that fleeting moment, Jack saw the flicker of hope reflected in his father's gaze. "I'm sorry, Jack. I should have never let us drift apart. I let my demons come between us." Jack's heart softened. "We've both made mistakes. It's never too late to start again, but we need to face the truth, Dad. Together." The urgency of the situation melted some of the years of silence that hung between them. Jack took a deep breath. "Lily deserves to know her grandfather. She needs you just as much as I do. We can work on this. We can be family again." As Jack spoke, Lily gently placed her hand on her grandfather's, reaching out as if bridging a canyon that had separated them for so long. "I want to hear your stories, Grandpa. The ones Dad told me." His father's face softened as emotion colored his features, a mixture of sadness, pride, and hope. "I'd love to tell you them. Sweet girl. If you'll have me." The moment resonated, each word tapping into a deeper connection, a faint light pushing back against the shadows of the past. In that hospital room, Jack felt something shift inside him, a resolve to build a present that could foster a future. "Let us take this step together," he said, his heart full. As they shared stories, frailty fading into laughter, something extraordinary blossomed, an understanding that love could rise anew. Every chuckle, every teardrop, could fortify the relationships they so dearly needed. Jack knew life would still hold challenges, but he understood now that together, they could face them all. And they would do so not just for themselves but for Lily, the light that had sparked their transformation. Together they chose hope. And as the machines beeped softly in the backdrop, a rhythm of second chances, Jack realized that family isn't limited by time or circumstance. Love has the power to transcend, and for that they would always fight. Now let's not let this moment slip away. You need to subscribe now to the channel, so you don't miss the next exclusive stories that can change your lives. This is the moment to show your support. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and help us reach more hearts. We want to hear your thoughts. Comment below with your reactions and feelings about this transformative ending. Don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this heartwarming story.